Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. If you visit any of my lives, I start them all the same way because I think it's so super cool that it doesn't matter where we are or what time of day it is for us. We can all come together at one time and engage in some amazing conversation. So we're here on the Blue TV episode. I can't remember even what episode we are on, but I'm so super excited to have Nikki with us. I'm going to let her do her own introduction. But first, I want to welcome everyone. Let us know where you are located. I'm here in Houston, Texas. And by the way, I'm Denise Martha Bachman. I am here in Houston, Texas, which, by the way, if you followed any of my posts, we just got power. Some people are still without power. They're on day 6. I had 4 days of no power, and I'm super excited that yesterday was my first real day back. So I can actually blow dry my hair. It's at least straight curly, and I feel fresh and clean. So super excited to be here joining you guys. With us, we have Nikki. We'll do introductions with her in a minute, but first I want her to share where she's located. As a reminder, I'm here in Houston. Tell us where you are, and Nikki, where are you at?
Thanks for having me, Denise. I'm in New York City, and I'm so grateful to have power because I've been through that experience once a few years ago of going 5 days without power, and it can really wreak havoc in your life. So I'm so glad things are better now for you, and excited to meet everyone for this Blue TV episode and have an amazing conversation.
Awesome. I love that. And we did have a little conversation prior to about her little bit of stint in Dallas when we had Snowmageddon or whatever or Ice-Mageddon. I can't remember what they called it.
Yeah.
But yes, I remember those days when we didn't have power. The difference then it was super cold, so you were miserably cold, and now it was super hot, so you were miserably hot. So, whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to do an introduction for Nikki because I would probably do her some injustice. And so I'm super excited to have her do her own. I do always share, though, how we met. And it hasn't even actually been that super long that we've actually engaged with one another. It was probably about the beginning of the year. So in January or so, where we both became a member of this group, this really cool group, and especially on a WhatsApp group that we had an opportunity to engage. Yeah. And then I launched these Blue TV episodes, and Nikki is just so amazing, and I'm excited to have her. There's some great things that we could unpack, although we only have, about 45 minutes. So I don't know how much we'll get to unpack. So make sure you follow her. We'll talk about how to find her closer to the end of the show. But now I'm going to pass it on over to Nikki and let her do her own introduction. So Nikki, take it from here, please.
Thanks, Denise. So great to meet everyone. Thanks for joining us today. My story is all about, going beyond barriers. Throughout my life, it's been this, constantly facing obstacles with courage and confidence and turning those obstacles into opportunities. So whether it was coming to America as an immigrant with very few resources, but a lot of big dreams, and learning how to adapt and, make it here, or it was trying to figure out how to navigate my corporate career, or even beyond that to becoming an entrepreneur more than a decade ago and building multiple businesses. The thing that I've learned throughout is it really, in order for you to keep leveling up in your life, you just have to learn how to master bigger and bigger challenges. Because if you get stuck at a certain level, it holds you back from your own growth and the opportunities in front of you. So when you flip how you view obstacles and really think of it as a stepping stone to the next version of you, it gives you a whole different perspective and allows you to face life with like an adventure.
I agree. Most of you that follow me know that there was a period of time where I went through this journey of healing. And what I realized was, as amazing as a career I had, there were moments where moments meaning years, where I would have this amazing success. Life was grand, was making tons of cash, loved my job, life was amazing. But then I would have something that would rock my world. And maybe it wasn't significant to someone else, but in that moment in my life, it was significant enough that it would shake me down, right? And then I'd have these moments, and moments could have been months, weeks, days, years, even sometimes, where it wasn't so grand. And what I realized was that I had these challenges, that these challenges were there for a reason, and I hadn't dealt with some of the past trauma that I needed to. And, now that I've dealt with the trauma and I'm over on the other side of healing, I still have challenges that come up. And I recognize the moments where I'm not actually managing to them and they are holding me back. We all have them in life. It's a matter of how you overcome them and get on the other side of that.
It's so true. You mentioned that sometimes moments can turn into months, and that's really the biggest loss in that whole experience. Isn't actually the challenge or the failure or the setback we experience, is that we lose time. We lose time when we get stuck, and so learning how to turn that inertia into momentum is really important to it doesn't matter how many times you fall, it's how quickly you get up and how often you get up. And that makes a huge difference, not just in your self-belief, but your ability to weather any kind of storm.
Yeah, so I agree with that. So talk about, because you've gone through a lot yourself. You talked about the adversity. What do you think, if you reflect back on your life, what do you think was probably the most challenging? And recognizing that you may not want to share everything, so just share what you feel comfortable with. But what do you think was the most challenging that maybe led you down this path to take what you've learned to teach others?
Yeah, I would say, it's really been, so many different varieties of challenges, both personal and professional, of, finding your way, to success in your life and career. But I would say the overarching theme really has been, the ultimate obstacle of fitting in. As someone who's an outsider and represents so many different dimensions of diversity, you can operate in a lot of different spaces, and you can be part of a work team and a community in your local neighborhood and all of that, and yet there's a part of you that never feels like you belong, and that can create this sense of isolation, but it also makes you feel like you're constantly on the outside of every inner circle, right? And when that happens, you start to try so hard to fit in that you stop being yourself. And the more you become like everyone else, the less there is of you in that journey. And when we lose our authenticity, we often lose our power. Because when you stop showing up yourself, you're constantly trying to measure up to someone else's yardstick. And for me, that journey was probably one of the biggest hurdles to overcome, of really figuring out, how do I show up as myself in every space, in every place? And what does that look like? Whether it is as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a, as someone who's minority or gay or what have you, it doesn't matter. Like, how do I show up authentically everywhere? And once you find your voice, it turns, and you feel, you're no longer looking to be seen or heard. You just project that self-belief. It changes everything around you. And for me, learning the right strategies, the right mindset, the right habits, took the same kind of ambition and hard work, and it multiplied the results. So instead of chasing opportunity, suddenly I was attracting opportunity, because I wasn't trying to become someone else. And ironically, one of the hardest things in the world is standing out, right? What is marketing ultimately about? It's differentiation. And so when you embrace what makes you uniquely you, what makes you different is what makes you special. And when you recognize that, not only does it make you more powerful, and gives you the tools to show up in the best possible way, but it actually changes your results completely. So for me, it was, I could look at my career as the first half of trying to fit in, and the second half of just being myself, and everything taking off like a rocket ship. And that completely changed all of the results for me.
So what do you think was the turning point for you? What is it that helped you, for those of us that, because that's something that I think a lot of us struggle with. I mean, I struggled with that myself, right? And so What do you think was the turning point, or the one thing, or maybe it's not just one, because it's usually not
Mm-hmm.
just one, but what do you think were some things that helped you really change from trying to always be what everyone else wanted to just being you? Was there something that you could
Yeah,
recommend?
well, I think what I realized was that the nature of my relationships and friendships, and even with my parents who live in India, was getting more and more superficial because there were so many parts of myself that I was hiding, or trying to sort of project an image that was simply not the reality. That the emptiness, kind of took me to rock bottom. I experienced a personal loss of a partner committing suicide, and one thing led to another, and it was sort of like hitting rock bottom in so many different ways. And realizing in that moment that everything that I had sort of built up, this artificial existence, was completely meaningless, because all it had done was, not only did I lose connection with others, but I also lost connection with myself. And so that was a turning point of just saying, what more could I possibly lose? And I had everything to gain from that.
Yeah, I think for me, I was kind of in that same position where I realized, and I spiraled really far down into this depression, and I started self mutilating. And I realized that I was a poor example for my kids. Like, they would
Hmm.
witness and they would see the effects of that. And then it was really hard on my relationship with my husband, and my friendships were suffering because I was self-mutilating. I didn't want people to see me, right? I didn't want them to see the negativity, but I didn't want them to see the results of all of that,
Hmm.
stuff that I was doing. And so it took me I was in really deep, in a very low place, but it took me getting to that low place, almost very much like an alcoholic. I had to hit
Hmm.
almost what I define as my rock bottom to realize
Hmm.
that I had to flip the switch. I had to turn things around. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, I had to hit that rock bottom. I'm hoping that conversations like what you and I are having, Nikki, that someone recognizes before they actually hit rock bottom
Hmm.
and realizes that, it's all about being your authentic self. People want you to be more of your
Hmm.
authentic self. You just think that you have to
Yeah.
be someone else, but you don't really actually have to. You just
Yeah.
think, and if you feel that way, it's probably something that's transpired in your past that has caused you to feel like you can't show up as your authentic self. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and we look at other people's lives or success stories really through a very narrow lens with Instagram filters on, right? So you assume that someone else has it all together, that they haven't suffered or they haven't lost something or someone precious, and we compare, ourselves to someone else's story and feel less than. And comparison is the greatest prison you can put yourself in, because the moment you start comparing, all you can see is what you lack, not what you have. And yet, the reality is, for most people, there's, suffering of all kinds that exists. It's a matter of how they rise up from that. When I hit rock bottom, I felt like rock bottom had a basement and I was a permanent resident there. It was even lower than rock bottom. And, you know, climbing your way out of that is excruciatingly painful, and it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a lot of rebuilding of habits, to daily discipline, to the things you do to just get better one step at a time. And eventually, when you get on the other side, you recognize how far you've come. And that's worth celebrating, your journey of everything you've overcome and the strength and, you gain from that. But the journey never ends, even when you get to the other side, there's new challenges that are
Yeah.
waiting for you. So it's the next mountain climb. But where we should draw strength and confidence is reminding ourselves of all that we have overcome, all that we have survived, and all that we have navigated through. And that should give us the confidence that we can keep going further.
I agree. There was a point, I don't have to do that now, but as I was going through that journey, I would at night write down, make a list. I had a separate notebook that I would pull open, put the date, and I would write down everything that I accomplished that day that was
Mm-hmm.
positive so that I
Yeah.
could reflect back on, because it's so easy for us to get caught up in the mundane tasks and
Mm-hmm.
in this effort of trying to recover or get better or whatever journey we're on, right? That we sometimes forget to celebrate. And even if
Yeah.
we do, we celebrate only the big things and we forget it doesn't have to always be a big thing.
No.
It's all those little things that just add up that turn into something big, right? I mean, we have to celebrate all of those moments.
Yeah, sometimes it's just getting through a day that felt really hard, but you made it through the day, right? It doesn't have to be something big. And, unfortunately, so much of these real conversations aren't encouraged in the business world. And so, as a result of that, like we ignore the whole human, right? We bring our professional selves to work and don't consider that outside of the workplace there's so much else that we're enduring and so much else that people could be going through. And one of the things that we found in our work with Beyond Bears, because we help companies unlock talent potential at scale with our career fitness platform. And when we work with individuals at these large organizations, one of the most common thing that everybody says, we ask this question, like, what is the one thing you wish you could shed? And the number one thing that everyone says, and this is globally at all career stages, no matter how successful they are, they say self-doubt. And that, so it's not the core skills that you're building. It's not just all the things you're achieving. It's that inside you, there's something, that nagging doubt, that feeling that you're not good enough, that maybe you can't do this thing is actually the real thing holding you back. So when you learn how to overcome that, not just one time, but over and over and over again, you just open up entirely new possibilities.
Yeah, and for me, I didn't realize that it had all to do with some of my childhood trauma that I experienced. So I'd been carrying this through my entire life, and I turned 52 in November. So I'd been carrying this, up until about 50. I've been carrying this whole thing my entire life and didn't even realize. Now, it may not be as deep rooted as mine was, right? But I think it
Mm-hmm.
is important for us as individuals to, you don't have to maybe get to the root cause, like what the actual
Mm-hmm.
incident was, and you may not even ever remember what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a moment or a collection of moments that probably caused this deep rooted self-doubt. So then the question is, how do you teach them, Nikki, how do you work with someone to help them overcome that self-doubt?
Yeah, so that's really what our methodology is built around, because it was really designed to help people not only gain that clarity and confidence, but also apply themselves in a way where athletes can turn into Olympians, because we all have that limitless potential. But often there's things that hold us back, that some that we're aware of, some that we don't even know exist, like much like you described, there's often trauma that you are not even aware that you're carrying. But once you have, a better awareness and understanding of that, and once you gain clarity of not only who you are, but what you want and why it matters to you, and you have the courage to follow through and overcome those limiting beliefs and take action, and you learn to continuously keep growing and leveling up, and you lean on your community not just to support them, but to be willing to ask for help. And that's what changes the game, and we've seen it over and over again. I mean, we within 3 months we see this dramatic shift in people's confidence in their performance at work. We actually work with a lot of folks in sales, with careers in sales, and we see this huge growth in their sales results, right? Because you coach for sales, and it's not about the product or service that you're selling. It really comes down to do you believe in your ability to inspire confidence in someone else? And that's always limited when when you carry self-doubt, it's not going to be easy for you to be able to convince someone else either. So what we've consistently seen in a very, systematic step-by-step way is empowering people with proven strategies, with surrounding them with the right community of people that empower them, and coaching them through that process really helps them not only become future ready, but operate at an entirely different level in a matter of months.
I love that, because I think that we know that there has been a rise in mental health, specifically due to probably the pandemic, and no one wants to talk about that anymore, but the reality is we see more and more mental health cases. And they aren't mental health is not just about depression. It can be anything as simple as this self-doubt, right? That is a debilitating sometimes, because it holds us back, which therein results in a mental health crisis. Is a harsh way to describe, because it may not be a crisis for you yet as an individual, but it's still impacting negatively. And so that causes these barriers, and what you're advocating is breaking beyond those barriers, getting past those mental health issues that are all around us right now. We all have them. So instead of fearing them or feeling terrible that you're having to deal with something, just hit it head on and
get the help, get the help and surround yourself. We also find that people come into the Beyond Barriers programs, and they often feel like they're the only ones dealing with this. And the moment they listen to other people and find out that, wow, everybody else is struggling with the same or similar issues, there's almost a sense of relief that I'm not alone, right? And that's something we all have to remember, that no matter what challenge you're facing, chances are there's someone out there in the world who's facing something very similar, but you're not going to be able to get the support you need unless you are open about it. And I think that's where seeking the support, being open, and choosing to take action makes all the difference in the world.
I always say people want to help. They just don't know how. So unless you ask them, or unless you tell them what you need, because even sometimes when you ask, they may not still know how to help you. You've got to tell them what you need. But people want to help. They just don't offer because they don't know what or how. So if we just share with others, they're willing to jump in and help us in this lifeboat that we're trying to not sink in. Instead, they'll help us rise.
Yeah. And, a great place to look is, when you consider sports and athletes, they surround themselves with experts of all kinds, someone to help with, coaching them on their, on their sport, someone to help them with nutrition, someone to help them with, their overall health. And it's because their business is them, right? Like they're investing in making sure that they have all the support, and they're not seeing it as a negative. And ironically, the same idea in business is viewed as something that is punitive almost, right? If I need to ask for help, it means I must be inadequate in some way, as opposed to thinking of it like an athlete does, which is, I'm great at what I do, and with this expert help, I will only get better, right? It's not that I'm failing, it's that there's a next level of success I can achieve. And in business, if you think of it, or for business professionals, if you think of it the same way, that when you seek out help, it's not that you're lacking something, it's a next level that is available for you to unlock. And that's what someone else can do for you. And my guess is you've probably seen that, in your work with sales professionals, and the, getting to a next level of performance.
Exactly. And I mean, I'm sure you feel the same way, Nikki, just personally, but even I coach sales, I still have my own coaches, and I even go to events where I'm learning from other sales coaches, because we only know what we know. and but there's always so much. There's someone else's perspective, there's someone else's success and experience that you can learn from. There's other situations that you may not have experienced. There's a new perspective just in all of those collectively that someone else has experienced that gives them a different perception of how to tackle things. I mean, I'm still always trying to up my game, and I'm always going, because I always say this too: if you're not learning, you're dying. So if you're not learning, you're not evolving, wait, did I say that right? If you're not learning, you're dying. Yes. If you're not learning, you're dying. So if you're not learning,
if you're not growing, you're dying, because that's true even in nature, right? Everything in nature is either growing or it's dying. And it's in order to grow, you have to keep learning, and you can learn from anyone, any place. There's always some new insight or new perspective, a new skill that you can gain. And that's why it's so important that, there's no, what is that line that say perfection is the lowest standard you can have, right? Because where do you go from there? But excellence is an everyday commitment. You show up and, you perform with excellence, but you're constantly looking to get to the next level of excellence. And that requires continuous learning.
I love that. Okay, but I do want to, before we come back to this conversation, what I keep remembering is that you speak 5 languages. And you have 3 masters, right? So when you talk about growing and learning, you're continuously learning yourself, right? So tell us a little, what languages do you speak, first off?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. It's more than 5, but like those are the ones that I'm fluent in. So it's English, Hindi, Marathi, Assamese, Bengali, and several others. We used to be very fluent in French and German, not anymore. And several other languages as well.
That's awesome.
It's just I don't know if it's an ear for it, but a lot of languages actually have similar roots. So once you kind of understand the structure, but like anything, it's about being in that immersive environment. And language is just a way to understand other cultures and connect with other people. So for me, it's been a way to appreciate the diversity of our world.
I can appreciate that. I speak German fluently, I say, because it was my first language, but it's very broken, and because I didn't take it in school. But anyway, so I can agree with that. But you also hold 3 masters. What are your master's programs?
So I did my master's in economics. I mean, the interesting story about my academic journey was that the 3 masters are the result of being confused, not clear.
Okay. Hey, but that in itself is a huge step, right? It's first part is admitting.
So my real passion from my childhood was wanting to be a writer, except growing up in India, wasn't, at least back then, the expectation was always, you become a doctor or, engineer, a lawyer. And I had no interest in any of those fields. And so as a compromise with my parents that I wouldn't go to art school and I refused to go to med school and all of that, I ended up choosing business undergrad and ended up, doing my master's in economics, business and economics. And that was my first one. And then did an MBA in strategy, which is where I discovered my deep love of strategy, actually. Like, found that was my sort of superpower. And then I did a master's in information systems and early AI. So it was back in the 90s. And, it gave me ultimately a different viewpoint of, what I got out of learning sort of, social sciences and business and technology was that it's really, you forget a lot of what you learn in a textbook, over the years. But what it really gives you is the ability to become a really good learner. It teaches you learning skills, and those are the things that ultimately hold you, give you that extra edge over time. And, for me, it was the discipline of continuous learning and also being able to bring completely different perspectives into any situation, to view it from different lenses, was what it really empowered me to do.
I love that. So we've talked about a little bit about some of the adversity, some of the challenges, the obstacles that we're trying to overcome. And you're really taking this beyond. And by the way, before we go into this, we do have some people who are out there in the audience. I thought I'd look to see if we had any comments, and I didn't. So I did a poor job. We've got Phil out there and we've got Nikki out there. So super excited to have y'all there. Appreciate you joining us and commenting. And sorry that I'm a bit behind in making sure that we highlight those. So, great. Phil said it was great to be here, my friends. Nikki says, I was hooked when I saw Nikki's on a mission to help companies develop future-ready leaders and accelerate their success. And she also said, next level thinking equals next level performance. You're right.
Right.
But yes. And we've been talking about all these obstacles and how to overcome, and the mission. I don't know if it's really your mission, Nikki, but most certainly your efforts in helping people overcome those, and really uncovering, where the root of the problem potentially lies, which what you said, most of the time it tends to be self-doubt. But how are you, right now you're spending a lot of time messaging on LinkedIn a lot. And one of them I saw you posted a couple of days ago, I think, or regarding, how to not take things so personally. How are you leveraging LinkedIn to help get this message out for Beyond Barriers?
Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn has been a huge resource for us, in building the company's brand. We focus on helping large enterprises. So, most of our businesses with Fortune 500 companies or larger companies, and supporting their employees and going further, faster in their careers. Because when people are held back, it doesn't just impact their own careers, it also impacts the companies that they work for, because they're leaving profit on the table, they're leaving potential on the table. And, talent is universal, but opportunity is not. And what creates a difference in how people tap into that opportunity is by getting access. When they're able to, get access to the right resources and relationships at the right time, that's what gets them the results. And so for us, it was really important. We're the first of its kind career fitness platform. Does not exist in the world. We're the first ones to build this AI-enabled platform that helps individuals advance in their careers, and for companies to unlock the talent potential. And the most effective way of doing that is really by providing valuable resources to our community, and that's all on LinkedIn. And so by providing, really valuable content, by providing whether it's educational or entertaining and personal stories that helps people relate to the challenges, or helping them see themselves in that situation and believe that there is a better future ahead for them, that has been absolutely instrumental in not only strengthening our community and serving them, but also for companies to understand what we do and to be able to partner with us. So for us, LinkedIn has been our primary channel, and it's something we don't look at as a billboard. We think of it as a way to give value, plain and simple. And when you give value, you attract the right kind of people to you.
I always say leading with service. So if you're, or leading by serving, either way you want to describe that. But if you're adding value, you're serving others, you're being of service to others. And when you add value, when you are of service, it creates this level of trust and credibility, so that when someone thinks of you as it relates to, realizing that they're stuck, they're not as successful as they want, and they really need to work with someone like you, Nikki, they're going to remember some of the posts and articles that you've written here on LinkedIn, and they're going to say, oh, that's who I need to go and talk to.
Yes, exactly. Because, what is so under leverage is recognizing that LinkedIn has close to 1 billion members globally. And these are all professionals working at companies all around the world. So if that is the business you're in, and that's your target audience, then recognize that this is a platform that allows you to reach at such a large scale completely free, and being able, and all you have to do is show up authentically and give value and help others. And if you're consistent with it over time, the results are exponential.
So let's talk about what, and Leaf said, yes, we need more valuable content over clickbait. I agree with that, because clickbait is usually not very authentic, and it's not usually adding a whole lot of value.
Exactly.
Now,
Yeah, and
there is
the other thing, I don't know if you've experienced this, but like people that reach out with a LinkedIn connection and immediately start selling you things, and it's what I always think about is, would someone behave like that in real life? you know, and would you just simply approach a complete stranger and say, "Buy this product I'm selling you"? And if you don't do that in real life, then don't do it in the virtual world either.
Well, I talk about this. In fact, I did an entire video series on how to create a warm DM, how to foster this warm DM process versus a cold one. And I always talk about this in terms of when you are having a conversation on LinkedIn, and even the way that I've changed my content, the way I generate my content now, how I write it, is not about me telling someone something. It's about me having a conversation with a friend. So when I'm sitting down and I create my content, if I'm going to write a DM, I think of it in terms of, who's this person? If they're my friend, this is how I would want to talk to them. And I kind of present my content then that way, so that it seems as though I'm talking with them rather than at them, if that makes any sense.
That's right. And that's exactly right. It's, just bringing humanity back into the conversation. Let's not act like AI-driven robots that are simply trying to generate conversion. Just how it works in real life with sales. You need people buy from people they like, trust, and respect. So just earn that.
And actually, I take it even a bit further now. It's not just know, like, and trust, but it's know, like, and trust with credibility. And before, credibility was how much we could educate the person we were talking to. But the reality is, most people they spend more time in front of their laptops now. And so they're already educated. They're fairly knowledgeable. So now it's really, how do you add value? That's really credibility now. Credibility really value. How are you adding value to that relationship? And that includes those that you want to foster a potential business relationship. And it's shouldn't be an immediate pitch slap, but rather fostering this credibility with them.
Yep. Exactly. Like Blue TV, right? I mean, it's adding value and helping your audience get perspective from a lot of different types of guests. And, it's going beyond what you can personally provide to expanding that ecosystem.
Yes, and it's recognizing that we're not experts in everything. And the areas that we aren't, we seek help from others for, which is why we have guests like Nikki on here, right? She is amazing. I mean, with the history and the background and the experiences that you've been through, I mean, I'm just so inspired by what you're doing with Beyond Barriers. And I'm so super excited that we had an opportunity to connect here through LinkedIn, and that you're making impact, you're serving others, you're making a difference, you're adding value. And I know that when we personally get the opportunity to do that, not only are we helping others, but we're also servicing ourselves. We're feeding ourselves.
Yeah, that's so true, because when we help someone, there's a genuine sense of contribution that you feel that you've made a difference for someone. And, when we don't ask for help from others, we're also stealing their opportunity to feel that same kind of gratitude and joy. So I think just, approaching it from that sense of, like, as much as we need to be approaching people from a perspective of helping them, but also opening doors for them to help us.
I love that, because I mentioned this earlier, I talk about people really do want to help, but I've never put it into that perspective, right? Which is, you're taking the opportunity away from them to get that same feeling that you have when you help someone else. That's next level. That's something I need to I need to remember when I'm having conversations with someone who is struggling with asking for help, because you're right. It's so very true.
Well, it happens a lot in business, particularly with women. That I heard this interesting. I came across this interesting research that said when uh, women step into a new role, they focus on how do I get this job done? How do I do it well? How do I excel at it as quickly as possible, and all of that. The focus is all in the how. When men step into a new role, the focus is who can help me, who do I need to collaborate with, who do I need to learn from, who can help me get this done faster, right? So it's a completely different focus, and as a result, they're far more efficient and looking at their network and asking for help and getting the resources that they need and actually getting faster results. And so while women are natural sort of community builders, we have a large circle of friends, we often hesitate to ask for help. And, recognizing that just as we are quick to help others, we don't give other people the same opportunity. And in that, we limit our own potential.
Yeah, that is my biggest takeaway from this conversation, is that not only do I want to, should I ask for help, but I also need to make sure that I'm giving them an opportunity to feel that same reward that I do
Yeah.
when I help others. So I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So I realize that we are coming to a close. I want, Nikki, for you to share with us how we can find you best and some of the new things that you have potentially coming up that we can engage with you on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to connect on LinkedIn. So certainly reach out to me through LinkedIn. If you want to explore more about Beyond Barriers, our website is gobeyondbarriers.com. And for those that are interested, you can go to gobeyondbarriers.com/quiz. And you can get a personalized assessment of the momentum metric, which basically tells you, what are the areas, what are the barriers holding you back from gaining more momentum in your career, in your business, in your life. And it's an incredible metric that has unlocked so much speed and opportunity for professionals worldwide. So, take advantage of that and find out what's holding you back, because whatever it is, the minute you know what it is, you have the option to change it.
I love that. And I would say my last parting thoughts are, the topic of this conversation is how do you overcome objections and turn them or obstacles and turn them into opportunities. And I think right now we're on those of you that are watching, whether you're team live or your team replay. So if you're in team replay, be sure to let us know that by putting the hashtag team replay. But regardless of where you are, you now have an opportunity to make a change. You have an opportunity now to become a better version of yourself, which we should always be striving for every day. So reach out to Nikki, follow her, go to her website, take the quiz. I'm going to actually take the quiz. I'm kind of excited about that.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are learning how to leverage LinkedIn, I think the biggest takeaway that we should all walk away with is just be your authentic self on LinkedIn. Because when you do that, when you show up as your authentic self, sharing some of your stories, weaving them in, talking with them instead of at the audience, you then start to build this credibility, and couple that with your visibility. It enables you to then grow to heights that you never knew, not just personally, but also professionally and within the business.
Be who you are, online and offline. That's the bottom line, right? Just like you wouldn't show up one day and, disappear for months on end. Don't do that on LinkedIn either. Just show up as your authentic self, provide value, and, just see how everything changes for you from there. So thanks for hosting this, Denise. It was such a joy to connect with you and to have this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. And I appreciate your time. I also appreciate everyone that's out there. Reminder, the ticker on the bottom does have, I'm doing the swoop because the ticker's moving. It does have Nikki's LinkedIn handle. So go visit her there. Thank you, everyone. Be sure to join us next Wednesday, 11 a.m. Oh, actually, next week, I'm taking the week off. It's this week is the last week of school for my kids, and it is Memorial Day weekend coming up. So therefore, next week I am taking off. So there will be no Blue TV this week, but there will be one in 2 weeks again. So, but you can always go back and check out old versions. We'll also drop some links in the comments below. Thank you to everyone who's been here today. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and happy hump day to everyone. And I'm going to end the stream. Nikki, stay on if you wouldn't mind for a few more minutes. Thank you, everyone. Bye.